She walked into the hotel with quiet grace, suitcase in hand, dressed simply but with a presence that made heads turn. The lobby whispered with luxury, marble floors, golden chandeliers, and eyes that watched her every step. Behind the counter, the manager's smile faltered, twisting into something colder when he saw her skin. "If you pay for the worst room," he chuckled under his breath, "you get the suite." Laughter rippled among the staff, but she didn't flinch. What they didn't know was that this woman had built more empires than that entire hotel chain combined. And tonight, they'd learn exactly who she was. Before we uncover who this woman really is and how she turns humiliation into history, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because every week, we share real stories that challenge prejudice, reveal hidden power, and remind the world that respect should never depend on color. Now, let's step back into that hotel lobby, where a simple booking was about to become a lesson no one would ever forget. It had been a long flight. 12 hours of turbulence and tired faces pressed against airplane windows. The woman, named Alana, had traveled across continents for a rare weekend of peace. She'd built her reputation from the ground up, a leader in global philanthropy, a woman who'd turned hardship into legacy. But tonight, she wasn't traveling as a CEO or a public figure. She was simply a guest hoping for rest. When her car stopped outside the five-star luxury hotel, the driver hurried to grab her luggage. Inside, the lobby gleamed with excess, velvet chairs, crystal light, and staff who smiled with polished perfection, until they saw her. Alana approached the counter, exhaustion softening her voice. "Reservation for Alana Brooks." The manager, tall and confident behind his polished desk, looked her over like she was a question he didn't want to answer. His fingers tapped the keyboard slowly, eyes darting from the screen to her face, as if her name didn't belong in that system. "Ah, yes," he said finally, his tone carrying the faintest smirk. "One of our economy rooms." He didn't mention that her booking confirmed the penthouse suite, prepaid and approved weeks ago. Alana smiled politely. She'd seen this kind of game before. The hesitation, the judgment, the quiet disbelief that someone like her could belong in a place like this. The other guests checked in smoothly, champagne offered, smiles given. But her process dragged. Every question met with scrutiny, every answer doubted. The manager leaned toward another employee, whispering something that drew muffled laughter. Alana caught only a fragment. "If you pay for the worst room, you get the suite." It was meant to mock, not realize. What he didn't know was that his next guest review would come from the woman who owned the company buying out his hotel chain. The keycard slid across the counter with a thud, the kind of sound that carries insult more than weight. The manager didn't bother to hide his smirk. "Basement level," he said curtly, pointing toward the service elevator instead of the grand one framed in gold and glass. Alana held the keycard between her fingers, calm and steady. Years of experience had taught her that power doesn't always shout. It waits, it observes, it strikes when truth matters most. So she thanked him softly, ignoring the condescending tilt of his head, and took the long walk toward the dimly lit hallway. The air changed as she descended. No scent of jasmine candles, no polished marble, just flickering bulbs and a faint hum of machinery. The room they'd assigned her was barely fit for staff lodging, cracked tiles, peeling paint, and a narrow bed pressed against the wall. She placed her suitcase down gently and took one long look around. Not a word escaped her lips. Instead, she opened her laptop and began typing. Upstairs, the staff exchanged knowing looks. "Probably couldn't afford the suite," one of them whispered. The manager chuckled. "They always act important. You'll see, she'll be gone by morning." He didn't know that Alana's name wasn't just on her passport. It was on the board of directors of one of the largest hospitality conglomerates in the world. The same corporation that had been quietly negotiating to acquire this very chain within the month. As night fell, Alana drafted an email. Short, precise, and written with the quiet authority of someone who never needed to raise her voice. Her assistant, thousands of miles away, read the message with wide eyes before forwarding it directly to the acquisition team. Within hours, executives were looped in. By dawn, legal teams were making calls. The news was moving faster than gossip in that lobby ever could. Meanwhile, Alana rose early, dressed in an elegant white suit, and took the main elevator this time. Her presence turned heads. The same manager from the night before froze mid-sentence when he saw her step out. She walked past him without acknowledgement and made her way to the breakfast lounge, where corporate banners and welcome signs hinted at a meeting soon to begin, an internal presentation for hotel leadership. The manager tried to regain composure, but his smirk had vanished. He followed her with his eyes, suspicion growing but understanding still far behind. Moments later, a group of executives entered the room, greeting her warmly. "Ms. Brooks, we're honored you could make it early," one said. The color drained from the manager's face. The woman he had mocked the night before, the one he'd sent to the basement, was not just a guest. She was the CEO of the parent company's philanthropic branch and the special consultant to the acquisition board, the very board that would decide his future. And as Alana met his shocked stare, she finally smiled, not out of revenge but revelation. Because some lessons are best delivered not in anger but in undeniable truth. The meeting room filled with quiet tension as executives took their seats. Charts were displayed, reports stacked neatly on the table, and every nameplate gleamed under soft lighting, except one. The manager stood awkwardly near the back, summoned without explanation. He still didn't know why. When the presentation began, the lead director welcomed everyone, his voice echoing with authority. "Today," he said, "we discuss the final stage of our acquisition. A merger that will redefine our hospitality standards across the globe. Please welcome our chief guest, Ms. Alana Brooks." Heads turned. Applause followed. The manager's body stiffened, the sound fading into a dull roar in his ears. Alana walked to the podium, calm and radiant, her white suit catching the morning light like armor. "Thank you," she began, her tone measured yet piercing. "This acquisition isn't just about numbers or buildings. It's about values, about how we treat people when no one's watching." The room fell utterly silent. She didn't look at him directly, but every word found its mark. "Last night," she continued, "I experienced something that reminded me why reform is necessary, not just in policies, but in perception." The manager's hands trembled. The other staff shifted uncomfortably, realizing what this was. Alana's words carried the weight of truth dressed in professionalism. "Excellence," she said, "has no color. Respect, no price. And a person's worth is never defined by what you see, but by what you choose to ignore." The director, catching her meaning, turned to the stunned manager. His voice was firm. "Mr. Daniels, I believe you owe our guest an explanation." But Alana raised her hand gently. "No need," she said. "He already gave it last night." Silence blanketed the room, heavy, undeniable, and unforgettable. In that moment, it wasn't anger that won. It was dignity. As she closed her presentation, the manager's world unraveled quietly. The same woman he mocked was now the symbol of everything he failed to recognize: grace, power, and quiet retribution. And as she walked out, applause thundered, not for revenge, but for revelation. When the meeting ended, the air in the room carried a different weight: respect. Not the forced kind that comes from fear, but the kind born of realization. Executives gathered around Alana, expressing gratitude for her insight, unaware of the full story that had unfolded the night before. Only one man knew, and he stood frozen, still trying to reconcile the image of the woman he'd mocked with the leader standing before him now. Alana offered him a single glance, not of anger, but of finality. It was the kind of look that didn't need words. Moments later, the director announced a company-wide audit on inclusivity and staff behavior, a new initiative to be led by Alana herself. The message was clear. The culture of quiet discrimination would no longer hide behind polished smiles and expensive decor. The manager's name, once printed boldly on the staff roster, was soon replaced. He didn't lose his job because she demanded it. He lost it because the truth finally had a witness with power. That evening, Alana checked out quietly. No grand speech, no public humiliation, just a calm exit. The same clerk who'd ignored her now rushed to carry her bags. She thanked him kindly, leaving a generous tip, and walked through the golden doors as the sun dipped low against the skyline. Outside, her car waited. Before stepping in, she looked back once more at the hotel. a place that had tried to make her small. But what they failed to see was that some people don't need recognition to prove their worth. They carry it with them, always. As her car pulled away, the words from her speech echoed through the halls she left behind. Respect has no color. Dignity has no price. And power, real power, never needs to announce itself. The story of the black woman in the basement room would soon circulate among employees, reshaping how they saw every guest who walked through their doors. And while most would forget her face, none would forget the lesson she left behind. Because that night, humility checked in and ignorance checked out.